Why do teams and players continue to put themselves in a position whereby they court controversy? Mad Monday. Vision emerged last night of Richmond players getting together at a pub in West Gippsland where they're seen appearing to mock the alleged sexual assault that took place at the Pullman Hotel last Monday morning involving Sydney Swans players. Now, one Richmond player, Josh Smiley, pulls his pants down and is then repeatedly slapped on the backside by a teammate as Smiley himself pretends to be shocked. And then star Tim Taranto is also seen whipping another player with a belt. Really? Why would you even put yourself in that position? Given what happened 8 days ago and the embarrassment that brought to the Swans and the AFL, how could the leaders of the Richmond playing group have thought spanking each other on the backside was a good idea? There are always cameras. Someone is always watching. It might be unfair, there's no privacy, but that is the reality. And to behave in such a foolish manner in a public location is simply downright stupid. I'm all for the lads having beers, hanging out. But you know more than ever the spotlight is on players. Just chill. Think, hold on, could this get us in trouble? And if the answer to that question is yes, don't do it. Seems fairly simple. Norm writes, I don't condone what the Richmond boys did in public, silly behaviour. I don't think that they were mimicking the Swans. No one knows what exactly happened inside of that hotel room unless you were there. Who said that they were spanking backsides in there? Are we just speculating? No, we're going off the reports, Norm, that was one of the incidents that happened, the allegations of sexual assault inside of that hotel room, and therefore, because that has been reported, there is a feeling that the Richmond antics on the deck in Garfield yesterday were mocking that. Now, again, even if the Richmond players were not mocking that on purpose and they were just spanking each other for some unknown reason, you have to be smarter than that. Perception is a big thing in this world. You know that there are going to be media crews there. You know that there are people going to be watching your Mad Monday. This happens every single year. Don't do it. Just get it right. Scott, good morning.
Good morning, mate. Just in light of the Richmond saga thing, just gets me thinking about Geelong. Every time they seem to do anything, it gets swept under the carpet like their Wacky Wednesday last year. Tyson Stengel gets found irresponsive in a nightclub, gets stretched out, plays the next week. Third-party payments get swept under the carpet. I'm just wondering when the AFL are going to hold Geelong accountable for anything.
I'd argue, Scott, that their Mad Monday antics didn't go without criticism last year. I mean, the actions of Bailey Smith and his comments on social media, and especially his mocking of Caroline Wilson, was seen as abhorrent. So I don't think it was swept under the carpet. There is still the investigation into the concussion waiver. Make no doubt, that ain't going away. Now, whilst it has dropped down a few rungs, given what has happened in the last 8 days, Scott, it is still there. It is still bubbling away, and you can guarantee in my notebook, in every other journo's notebook, it says, do not forget about the Geelong concussion case, because someone needs to be held accountable there for how that was allowed to happen, the manner in which it happened, and even Geelong is saying, well, the AFL may have actually known more than it had let on. So, still watch this space on that one, Scott. Morning, Tony.
Morning, mate. I want to talk about the Richmond players, but first, before that was Lee, when he was talking about the data centres. We got one about 5K from us, and it's right next door to my daughter's business. And she said they hear the hum all day. It doesn't stop. And I told my daughter, I said, well, if a war ever starts, you better move out of there because they're going to be a target. Hit a couple of those and Australia's crippled.
Yeah, it's not a bad point. As soon as the internet goes down, everyone's in trouble. We've seen that a few times in recent times. What do you want to say about Richmond, Tony?
Yeah, I just want to say about I'm glad I wasn't walking past there with my wife and grandchildren because I would have been so upset to see something like that in a public place. It's just that stuff for closed doors, not in a public area.
I agree, Tony. And they knew that they were outside. And how often do we see players filmed on Mad Monday? You know it is going to be filmed. Now, I do want to read this statement from the Garfield Hotel. This is a statement from the ownership group. I'm going to read verbatim here. We hosted the Richmond Football Club at our venue today, as in yesterday, and we could not speak more highly of the way they conducted themselves. For such a young group, they were extremely respectful and a fun group of boys to deal with. They enjoyed a few quiet beers to unwind after a long season. We see nothing wrong with that. They had booked out the venue for the afternoon, so they were the only patrons on site. They enjoyed their afternoon and moved on. In our view, this has been blown out of proportion. That is written in bold. 2 members of the media were waiting on their arrival this morning and remained on site, filming in the hope of capturing a misstep, which we consider disappointing. So that is from the Garfield Hotel. And again, I have no doubt that the boys were respectful. I'm glad to hear that. But again, I reiterate, it comes back to perception. And we know what has happened in the last 8 days and the seriousness of it. And the fact that it has brought the AFL and the Sydney Swans Football Club to its knees. Whether they were deliberately mocking the allegations of sexual assault or not, it was not the time to be behaving in that manner. They were outside on a deck. There were cameras that caught it. Everything is filmed. Everything can be posted online. You have to be smarter as a professional athlete. It might sound tough. It might sound unfair. When can the boys let their hair down? That is the reality. Joan, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Shane. How are you?
Good, Joan.
Look, I just wanted to say I'm just sick of this boys will be boys thing. They're not boys, they're men. And they should behave like, reasonably responsible adults. Yes, let off steam and that. If they want to do stuff like that, do it in one of their homes. But they are not adolescents, which everyone sort of keeps referring to and making a joke about and everything. They're grown men.
No, it's a fair point, Joan. And I think the fact, too, that it is so close to what happened at the Pullman Hotel, the serious allegations, and again, I'm not saying that they were deliberately mocking it, but the fact that there is an appearance that they are mocking it, that there is a perception that they are mocking what happened in that hotel room at the Pullman Hotel, that is bad enough. And again, I don't understand why they need to be slapping each other on the backside or slapping each other with belts. At the end of the day, they are still professional athletes. And you have to know that the media is going to follow you. And you have to be mature enough to say, no, let's just take a step back. And look, I have no doubt, there are many overseas benders that we never hear about. Players behave badly. No doubt at all. But when it is so close to what has happened here in Melbourne at the Pullman Hotel, when it is happening on Mad Monday, when it is filmed by local media or people just walking past, you're going to get in trouble. That's the reality of it. Joining me on the line now is 3AW football commentator Tony Short to give his view. Shorey, good morning. Thanks for your time.
Shane, how are you, mate?
I'm well. What did you make of the antics of the Richmond lads at Mad Monday?
Just ridiculous, isn't it? To not know the occasion and what's going on, and just total disrespect from my point of view. Look, like I keep saying, and we've been saying it for years, not everybody who plays league football is an intelligent person, and you add sort of either grog or anything to that, and it just doubles up the disrespect that's shown. I don't know. I think the Richmond club will come out with some sanctions, and probably the AFL will come out pretty hard. But the AFL have got to go and realise this is only a small percentage of very unintelligent AFL footballers who bring the game into disrepute, I think.
It seems dumb, Shorey, the fact that it appears to be mocking what happened 8 days ago at the Pullman Hotel. That to me is the concern. And even if they weren't deliberately mocking what transpired, the fact that it appears that way, it all comes back to the optics.
Oh, no doubt. And the first time I saw it this morning, I thought, you have got to be joking, putting yourself in that situation. If they can explain this any other way, well, good luck to them. But I think we all knew what it was, and it's a shame. But, like I said, the lowest percentage of AFL footballers bring the whole game down at times. And, just try and explain to them what it is about being, respectful to, women, or even the situation of where they are, because this is still going, this is still looking at being investigated. So, I don't know. Sometimes, like I said, the clubs, I think, will come down and just, if they can say it and see it in a different way, well, I don't see it that way. But, I think they'll come down, maybe a sanction here. And the AFL, I just think, got to make a broad statement about, it is only a small percentage, but they bring the whole competition down at times.
The thing is too, Shorey, I mean, surely the leadership of Richmond, not only from the CEO down, but also the leadership within that playing group goes, boys, given what has transpired, we need to be on our best behaviour. Nothing wrong with having a few drinks, sitting out the back, having a few laughs, but we are going to be watched. And you always know, in this day and age, it has happened to other clubs, it can happen to yours. There are always phones, there are always people watching, and if something happens, it's going to get out.
Yeah, well, Shane, the only thing is sometimes they probably haven't got the total group that they control at this time of the year, and that's because they play different spots, and that's the only thing I give them credit for, but they don't deserve any other credit. It's, again, they could say that, but, it has been through the history of the game that, the Mad Mondays and things like that, you've always seen dumb things happen. And, it has to be, I think, because, one, if you haven't got a lot of senior players at that situation where they can pull their heads in and say, that's going to be stopped right here. But, it's a shame for the game, and it's a shame for, just everything that's happened that you don't know the situation. I can't put it into words because we see dumb things, but this, we thought the Swans thing was fairly dumb by the 5 players, and that's been proven. So, they were where they were. But to think that this would follow on that, hell, I can't put it into words, and, I just don't know what they're thinking, and, people out there must be stunned. And please, I just say to everybody, it is always the 1%. It's always that 1 or 2 that bring down even great organisations. I'm not just talking about AFL. It's happening in other great organisations too. I think most players, and the AFL does a good job of talking about the respect of women, and I think most players know and believe that and follow that. But it is mind-boggling, isn't it?
Shorey, always appreciate your time. Appreciate talking to you this morning.
Good on you. Thanks, Shana.